Welcome everybody back to an exciting opportunity to have an amazing discussion with leaders and trailblazers, thought provokers from all parts of the world and all levels of nonprofit industry, um, leadership, everything in between. It's my pleasure to welcome everybody to this chat today. And I'm extremely excited to welcome an absolutely incredible young woman from Nepal who is the founder of the Learning Fortress, an initiation for creating a non-formal teaching and learning environment in the rural communities of Nepal. She's also a Gen EndIt Youth Ambassador and advocating in the field of sexual and reproductive human rights, comprehensive sexual education, and HIV and AIDS. This individual is absolutely trailblazing in her field, and her perspective made her a WEDU Rising Star of 2021 with Youth X policymakers and an ambassador as well, and a true leader in the efforts to end HIV and AIDS. It's my absolute pleasure to welcome Bipana Dhakal. Bipana, how are you?
Thank you so much, Jake, for having me here. I'm doing amazing and really excited and looking forward to our conversation today.
Amazing, amazing. And where are you joining us from?
So right now I'm here in Delhi. So it's one of the rural community in Nepal. I'm here actually projecting one of the pilot project that I will be working for my upcoming time. So yeah, I mean, I'm at this amazing place here.
Oh, it's incredible. We'll get into this, and I want to hear all about this pilot project that you have going on. I mean, one of the things that I love about these conversations is it's about exploring things that we don't already know, and exposing people and communities to information that they might not already know. Before we get into kind of your work, and the programs that you're a part of, I want to learn more about you. And I'm curious, how did you find yourself within this arena of HIV and AIDS and in a leadership position to focus on ending this epidemic?
So yeah, I am Bipana Dhakal and I'm from Nepal. I belong to a really rural community, and my upbringing started from there with a lot of struggles and a lot of like lack of resources and opportunities. I found a space myself struggling to put my voice forward. So I always was advocating for that voice to be heard in a really global platform. So a lot of people would be motivated together or would be gathered up together to fight for a common reason that we are working for. And this always led me up to kind of like shape up my identity and like make the Bipana who I am today and who wants to be even more in the coming future. So I ended up I started working on the HIV prevention and advocacy sector. It was with the notion that I found really less young people advocating for this cause, especially from my community. I found the voice of young change makers from rural communities, marginalized and underrepresented communities being really limited. And with that limitation brought my enthusiasm and curiosity. Why not I take up that step so many other young people would be motivated to join us for this reason, right? Because eventually we all are working together to end AIDS by 2030, and that's our goal. And hopefully we'll be reaching out there. And this was the only and the really powerful notion that I'm like working together with as a Gen EndIt Youth Ambassador, and trying to work together with the community leaders here in Nepal, and trying to bridge up the voices that they carry to a global platform and kind of make a localized action in the platform of HIV prevention awareness and much more collaboration that can be brought up or that can be done in order to achieve our goal. So yeah, that's how I ended up, or it started like my journey, not ended, started my journey with my advocacy work.
That's amazing. I mean, and yes, you said it so well. Started, and it's. I mean, every day is the start of a new beginning, and I believe that we as a community have a very prosperous future. But it's about finding identity, and it's about taking up, that baton in our hand for our generation and saying, how do we give our generation a voice? But beyond that, it's how do we find creative and collaborative opportunity to bring, an amplification of that voice to marginalized communities? And I would assume, coming from a small community, the challenge must be there a lot of, how is my voice heard? Like, how do I get my message out there? What were the steps that you took to not only start telling your story, but also find a platform and a space where you felt your voice could be heard?
So the first and the foremost thing that I did was looking after networks and amazing people who are in the sector of change making. So I started working on my LinkedIn profile. That's how I got started with all these, like linking up with these change makers and then getting set into the advocacy field. So I reached out to every person's profile up there. I searched what they do. I searched if they can be of some help for me to mentor, like if they can mentor me, or if they can provide me some ideas on how can I lead on to my ideas or my advocacy work. So it was a lot of research. It was a lot of like time that I put up in, like reaching out to those people and requesting if they would be really like, be there in order to mentor me somehow. Or I even like carried out many calls with those amazing people out there. And that was the first step that I carried. And the second would be from those networks, from those people. They were really supportive, and I'm really honored or really glad that I met those people in my way of change making. They really suggested me some amazing stuff, like where should I be leading on my change making actions with, in which platform should I be directed towards. Then I started applying to opportunities which require young change makers in there. And the real problem started from there because like there was a way that I was applying for all those opportunities, but because of some obstacles related to lack of resources, or maybe lack of proper platform that they were trying to highlight us upon, there was a lot of like obstacles in there. But yeah, overcoming those obstacles, I got into this amazing platform called the Gen EndIt platform. And through that platform, I got to meet 15 amazing young change makers from around the world who is doing amazing stuff in the sector of HIV prevention, awareness, youth collaboration, and many more. So that's how the whole journey started. And now we're working on to leverage of our voice and kind of like make it up to large scale so that both the local and the global communities would be together. It's not always that needed that the voice should be just upfront in the global scenario, because during that process, many times what happens is that we tend to forget that local community or the grassroots community, which we are trying to focus on. So with that focus being shared on, I think that's how I got into facing a lot of obstacles, getting up and then putting a lot of time in there, and then being really patient with all the processes, with all the applications of getting there. And eventually I made it. I think there's so much, I would not even say I made it. There's so much more that I think that I can offer back to the community, back to the advocacy platform that I should be, or that I am to be working up on in my future. But yeah, that's how I got up with all these stuffs.
Oh, that's incredible, Bipana. So, I mean, there are a few things you touched on there. I mean, first of all, I have to give you like a massive round of applause for your self-starting and motivation for yourself to go out there and like seek these opportunities. And I believe that it takes a very rare individual to really be able to not only acknowledge the desire to get involved in the space, but also take those steps. I mean, you said like you built out your LinkedIn profile, you reached out to all these platforms and communities, you were seeking out where you could best fit to let your voice be heard, to innovate, to be able to drive the conversation forward. And self-starting is just hard in life. Sometimes it's really challenging because we don't know, how do we get from point A to point C? What does point B look like, And so I believe that we are both a part of a community where we're saying, how do we innovate and evolve in a way to make access to not only being able to become a part of that environment, but how do we provide an easier access point for young people to be able to get into that space? Because you had to experience, I mean, you had a lot of patience, as you said, which is really hard to experience. And I'm sure there were moments of frustration in that. So, I mean, you are an innovator, you're a trailblazer. Where do you see the need for better connectivity, whether it's through technological resources or expanding these platforms so that you can offer an ease of access to this for people that might see it as kind of a barrier to entry where they might not spend the time that you have to find your way in?
I think the foremost thing, if we have to reach out to those young people and then motivate them to be aligned to it, or kind of like show them a way that, okay, these are some platforms where you can totally utilize what you have. That is the spirit of change making. So the first thing would be investing on those young people. We would be able to nurture these young people, then definitely the outcomes would be better. And personally, I have also experienced these things. When there's lack of resources, one feels really demotivated, especially young people. They are in this like young people like us at our age, like we are in this stage where there's no stability there. There's society in there, there's your passion to change something. And if there would be added motivation in there, then definitely it would work as a spark, right? It would work as a spark, and things would lead on that way. Another thing I would say would be more platforms like Gen EndIt. Platforms like Gen EndIt not only helps us to keep our voices, but also help us to work together with young people from around the world. Me, who is from Nepal, is able to speak up in behalf, like from behalf of my community to some of my colleagues there in Nigeria, they're in the UK, they're in the USA. So I think connecting or forming such kind of environment where young people can come collaboratively, and then be on work together would be a really, really awesome way to shine away. And another thing would be, I think, bring on more perspectives of like diverse communities. Sometimes what happens is that if we are able to bring up certain communities on the table, like all the communities on the table, like with those diverse backgrounds, their diverse problems, then what happens is that we can bring on the aspect of representation so that no communities would be left behind. Me, I always proudly say that I am representation. I represent young people from the marginalized and underrepresented Nepalese communities. I'm really proud of it, and I think that I have been able to carry on this thing really well. And I'm really marching forward to do this thing often really well, and I always try to keep this thing on center. If I, along with many other young people, would be able or would be motivated to bring on this element, to bring on our community forward, then imagine, for example, Bipana from Nepal, another person from India, or another person from Germany, bringing on their community on the table, emphasizing the problems that they have. Then I think everything can be solved. Like there's nothing left out. There's nothing we would not be unempathetic or maybe like not empathetic about. I think everything would be like led on with the spirit of empathy, and then we can move on with these things. So if the stakeholders, if people listening us out there would be able to invest on these things, would be able to create such environment, then definitely many young people would be joining us together on this wonderful journey.
Yeah, no, I mean, kudos to that. I amplify that. I want to just take a moment to make it clear that every community must be represented. The stakeholders, when we talk about stakeholders, it's every living person on this planet, right? We are all in this together. And as we experienced over the last 3 years, whether it's HIV, whether it's COVID, whether it's any individual or community challenge that we face, the only way that we move to a path towards success and overcoming those challenges is by working together and moving in a united front. You touched on lack of resources. I think that one of the challenges that we have is a lot of people may ask the question of what are those resources? What are the areas where if I give X, it's going to create Y, or it's going to come with this specific impact? Just, in your creative mind, what are some of the real kind of nuts and bolts, the brass tacks resources that you feel are needed, not just for your community, but what you've experienced and learned in connecting to these other ambassadors from other parts of the world?
I think the sole element for whenever we young people are talking about, these aspects like the lack of resources, the basic element or the major one would be opportunities, as far as I have been experienced with. So what happens is that in our advocacy journey or in our change making action, there's a lot of time that we lack mentorship. Like we really lack mentorship, and there's limited people who would out of their busy schedule like invest their time on us and then let us through this journey, because we are starting off fresh. We need a lot of guidance. We need a lot of as I said, motivation, like why we should be sticking to this craft, why we should be giving our best in order to do this thing, what would we be getting out of this. So personally speaking, from my experiences, I think mentorship, I can relate it to my own experience. Mentorship has played a really huge role. I have some amazing mentors guiding me throughout my life, guiding me, being the base of my advocacy thing, always encouraging me, and then giving me the spirit that yes, the action that I do is really creating change, and that's the goal that I want to carry. So this is the only thing that kind of like bring that spark in my eyes, and oh wow, I have so much more to give back to the community. It's not just that I am putting the efforts, the results are out there. Someone else is really being benefited by the action that I'm carrying. I am representing the youth from my community or many more youths globally. So I think the major aspect would be mentorship. Along with that, I think some aspects of whenever we are talking about presenting or like being there in some sort of like voice representation. For example, if I'm representing my problems in XYZ community, then me being there and keeping my voice is really important. And I would say someone from Nepal, which is not, we are not so privileged, we do not have that passport privilege. If I would be applying to any opportunities out there, in any conference, in any symposium where I'm supposed to be, where I can keep my voice there and interact with policymakers, interact question the stakeholders, the leaders who are supposed to answer us. I rarely get that chance because I do not have that passport privilege. So I think another thing would be, when we talk about resources would be equal opportunities to all in terms of accessibility to those platforms.
So I think we're in an age in the world where I think a lot of us are really looking inward as to how can we better improve our own lives and the lives of those around us. Storytelling is the cornerstone to all of history. Without storytelling, we would not have the traditions that we have. We would not have the mentorship of generations that came before us. But along with that, storytelling requires a space for innovation and for opportunity, as you said, when we're starting off fresh. I see this as the world has a great chance right now to evolve our perspective, to be able to bring new ideas to the table. And in that comes the representation, as you're talking about. So for me, I'm hearing that there's a call to action here of not only just within, a policymaking environment, but on a storytelling environment. How can we create space, whether it's leveraging social media, whether it's leveraging entertainment platforms, to be able to bring the stories of individuals like yourself and communities that you represent to the forefront, so that people can see by example that this is out there and they can do it themselves and they can feel empowered in that experience. We now came through COVID. Now we're more digital than ever. Here we are having this talk across the globe through Zoom. And we could welcome a multitude of voices and faces within this experience, and we could be doing that more and more and more. And so, from what I'm hearing from you, I think innovation is key. And I know that in your experience with the work that you do, you're focused on non-formal education. For me, that says innovation. How do we break the mold? Right? How do we take what we've learned and use your perspective as a young person in this world to say, maybe this idea could work a little bit better. Maybe we have to evolve in these ways. I'd like to hear some from you on what are the successful experiences that you've had within more non-formal education, that might not be kind of the programmatic way that we've necessarily approached everything for the past 30 years.
I think like personally, I am working like through the learning project. So I am working with the marginalized and underrepresented children here in Bolivia. It's one of the rural communities from where I belong. So I'm trying to work with these children who do not have any privilege of getting acquainted with formal education due to COVID. There were some restrictions. They do not have any technologies with them, and adding on technologies personally from our side or from the local government side for every children would not be possible, or at least is not possible for our community because of the lack of funding and the resources. So I think one, not like looking at the programmatic, as you said, you, but more relating it to the happiest and the more amazing experience that I've experienced, that okay, this is the learning fortress and this is how it is creating change, would be when the children that I am teaching or that I'm working on with were able to graduate from this cohort. So we have this cohort system of like 6 months, and then like we also have this extension for up to 1 year. So the children who graduated from the first cohort were able to come back in order to volunteer, so that they can give back to the upcoming or to the new cohort. So that was really amazing for me that personally I was able to kind of like touch the mindset of these children that okay, if we are taking something from the community, if we are taking some good things, then we have to return back so these things can last long, the sustainability things goes on, and the effect will be multiplied eventually. And this one children, like this one student of mine, come directly to me and explain all these things in her own words, and that was the really like I achieved it all. That was the thing that came into my mind when I heard like her perspective about like how she feels about coming back and then volunteering, giving time to the students who are involved, to the new cohort that are involved in all these non-formal actions. So I think this is something that has been a key lesson for me, focusing on sustainability. It's not always about a short-term action. It is needed. Short-term actions are needed, but focusing on sustainability has always been that key lesson that I learned from that small action, which might be unnoticeable for many of the outsiders, of people like who would not be knowing the learning fortress nearby. But I think that is and always will be precious moment for me that I've like really loved and keep it close to my heart.
From the smile you give when you get to really embody your passion in life, I mean, that is what everyone strives for, that and wants that in their heart, but it's so challenging at times to even express that or know how to get there. And I want to highlight, it's giving back. It's taking what you've learned and being able to provide that to someone else, and to create an opportunity where you can empower someone else in that same experience. So, I mean, congratulations to you, because I mean, first, how old are you?
I'm 21.
Okay, you're 21. When I was 21, I didn't know who I was. I was like, who am I? Where am I in this world? And how do I tap into that? And to be able to see a young woman, 21 years old, already achieving and accessing everything that you have. I mean, it brings me so much hope that we can lean on your generation and future generations to really bring the true value of our human experience to the forefront. So, I mean, I want to support you and your community, and I mean, I think the Learning Fortress is absolutely phenomenal. And if there's a way for myself and the community listening to this, and beyond, to be able to support the growth of that, and as you said, connecting to people around the world, there should be learning fortresses in every single community, right? We should be expanding this opportunity so that everybody gets the opportunity to have that smile on their face.
I think, yeah, the first thing would be amplifying or kind of like portraying or highlighting what exactly the Learning Fortress does to many more platforms. So young people like me, or even people who are really advocating for education, or specifically so much aligned with non-form education, would be interested or would be motivated to work upon it or to work for motives like this. So it would be the foremost step for us to kind of like grow this platform, not just being limiting within a small village of Bordia. I think expanding it, connecting, as I said, connecting it to the, like applying the localized perspective would be an amazing way how we can use these results or the gains that I have been doing along with the Learning Fortress would be an amazing way. Along with that, I think, yeah, any mentorship, anyone who is involved in the sector of education, if they have new ideas or if they have something new to offer to the Learning Fortress and me individually as well, and many young people like me, then it would be amazing. I'm really much more open to learn. I think there's so much more that I can learn, and with that learning, I can add on this energy and give back to the community. So I think, yeah, I mean, anyone who would love to connect, collaborate, or have a talk about the Learning Fortress, I always get so much excited, as you said, whenever like someone talks about the Learning Fortress or the advocacy that I'm doing. So I'm really looking forward to it. If provided such opportunities where I can put my voice, and then from then on, the spark like ignites. The spark would be like multiplied even more, and more people would be up for this cause, up for the cause that we should all be advocating for, because that's what our mission should be. So I think, yeah, with these ways, many more people can join us, and then make this thing even more bigger and better. And I hope every children would be able to get or have the access to non-formal education in each and every nook and corner of the world. So that's the mission.
All right. So LinkedIn, reach out to Bipana, any resources possible. I mean, I'm talking like, I know that, Apple recycles computers. Well, you know what? Instead of taking your computer to Apple, if it's functioning, why not reach out to Bipana and find a way to be able to provide a donation in that sense to the Learning Fortress? Anything that we can do, and myself as just an individual, to support you in creating as much more forward progress in your digital footprint, in your awareness, and in people's opportunity to support, impact, and drive your program forward, please do not hesitate to reach out and ask. It would be my absolute pleasure. So, ladies and gentlemen, my good friend Bipana, thank you from across the globe. You are an inspiration, and I know for myself, it just brings so much hope to know that a 21-year-old such as yourself has not only found it in yourself and your identity to do the work that you're doing, and to apply yourself in the way that you have, but thank you for your incredible dedication to seeking out the platforms that can support you in your mission. Persistence pays off, and I can tell you're quite the persistent individual.
Thank you so much, Jake, for having me here. I am so much honored. I'm so much glad that I am able to like be on this platform, and really glad that definitely a lot of people will be listening to us, and then somehow they would be motivated or inspired even a bit to be a part of this journey, like to advocate for HIV prevention, awareness of sexual reproductive health rights, even non-formal education. Then I would be so much happy that again another day so successful that I was able to reach out to such bright mind and somehow inspire them. Anyone who would want to reach out to me directly, then definitely I would be always upfront to have a good talk about advocacy and activism and change making. That's what I'm here for. So I would be really up there on these sites. Let me know if there's anything. Let's connect together. And so thank you to Jake and the entire team for bringing me in this space, which was really indeed needed. And I wish that we would be able to have such amazing talks in our upcoming future as well, and then definitely bring on the change that we want to have on this society for a better world together. Thank you so much.
Indeed. Well, that's it. You heard it there, ladies and gentlemen. Trailblazing, change making. You are our future, and your generation represents that. And I thank you for your heartfelt commitment to it. So till next time, we will have many more talks, and you continue the incredible work that you're doing, and do not ever stop.